We'll discuss one of the Empire's best but most underutilized fighter designs on today's Star Wars video. Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video. We've got a super fun one today. We're discussing, I guess you'd call it a starfighter, which was unlike almost any other in the entire galaxy, and one which features very prominently in some of Star Wars Legends' most famous stories. In fact, I would wager the Skip Bray blast boat has to be one of the most famous Legends-only starfighter classes. Technically, I see it does have a canon wiki page, but it's not really canon in a meaningful way. But we'll get to the history and the capabilities of the Skip Bray in just a moment. Before we do, just a reminder, as I discussed yesterday, I've restarted the Eckhart's Ladder Patreon. I've hired help to make sure that it's a special experience for you guys, and we're actually over-delivering a little bit because we started the Discord early. If you're a patron at any tier, you'll get access to the exclusive Eckhart's Ladder Discord. I'm there hanging out. We were talking about this video before it released. You can get Discord access for just $1.50 right now. It's going to go up later, though of course you won't lose your access, and in the future, we've got some really cool stuff planned. The Skip Bray blast boat is most famous for its appearance in the Thrawn trilogy, where various Skip Rays are employed by Talon Karrde and his smuggler organization. There's a fun sequence where Luke is captured by Talon Karrde, and he escapes in a stolen Skip Bray blast boat only to be chased down by Mara in a second Skip Bray. Young love. All while the tail of their fighters are like crashing against trees, and they're also trying to hide from Thrawn, who has decided to check out Mercure at the worst possible time. We don't get a full panel-by-panel detail of the Skip Bray in Heir to the Empire. However, there's talk of it having a tail fin, and it's evidently a pretty sturdy craft, as Luke is surprised by how unharmed he is after he crashes into Mercure's forest, leaving him to marvel at the ship's great design and advanced systems. Interestingly, however, although Heir to the Empire made the Skip Bray famous, it even got its own micro machine, by the way. Like much in the Thrawn trilogy, it was actually pulled from the West End Games Imperial Sourcebook. Interestingly, as with the Imperial Assault Shuttle, the Skip Bray actually falls in the category of capital ship rather than starfighter, which is not surprising given what we're about to learn. By the way, so much of the Thrawn trilogy can be found in the Imperial Sourcebook, from Lancers and Dreadnought-class heavy cruisers to interdictors, Victory Star Destroyers, and Star Galleons. If you're a fan of the expanded universe and enjoy learning the history, read it at least once. Anyway, the sourcebook explains that blast boats, and I quote, fill the gap between speedy, maneuverable starfighter designs and the slower, more heavily armed capital ships. They are swift enough to overhaul most system intruders and strong enough to deliver and survive blows from powerful weapons. It continues explaining that the blast boat was an incredibly versatile vehicle, one capable of patrolling space or fighting an atmosphere, all with or without starfighter or even capital ship support. The blast boat was the smallest Imperial vessel to operate with a hyperdrive at the time of its creation. So we see a significant departure from Imperial naval strategy, which typically, in the case of starfighters, focused on launching many units from a nearby mothership. The blast boat came in several different configurations. However, the sourcebook classifies it as a capital ship simply because of its insane firepower and power-generating abilities. The Skip Bray was introduced during the Galactic Civil War and came in several different makes and models. Most prominently, however, was the GAT series, which is typically what people are referring to when they say Skip Bray, specifically the GAT-12H. Presumably other Skip Rays would have been optimized for shuttle duties or in-atmosphere combat, but the 12H specifically was the souped-up assault Skip Ray with the best shields, the best power generation, and the most weapons, at least until later models like the 12J. But how souped up was the Skip Bray? Again, the sheer firepower of this thing led to its quasi-capital ship designation despite being only 25 meters long. For reference, that's 10 meters shorter than the Millennium Falcon, or put another way, right between the length of the Millennium Falcon and a B-Wing. Still, the Skip Bray was small enough to be comfortably carried on larger ships like a Star Destroyer, making it incredibly versatile, especially when its onboard hyperdrive is considered. According to the Essential Guide to Vehicles and Vessels, the Skip Bray has the best of everything. For example, the hull plating, and I quote, is so heavy that most starfighter lasers would have a tough time penetrating the armor, making the ship impervious to all but the most powerful fighter weapons. It had 3 capital ship-grade medium ion cannons meant to help it punch up against larger vessels, which were placed on both ends of its swiveling wing and its underbelly. Additionally, it had munitions launchers, which could probably be configured for any sort of missile, torpedo, or rocket, as well as what the guide calls 2 laser cannons, but what I think it actually means as a turreted double laser cannon. There's at least 1 turreted cannon on the dorsal side. It's possible there's another built in at the nose of the craft, but I'm not sure. I've never actually seen the little almost struts on the side of the fuselage labeled. It's possible those were initially intended to be 2 laser cannons and the turret is a 3rd, but I've seen other sources state that those are sensor pylons. Some variants of the Skip Ray also replaced the laser cannon with a turbo laser. I really like the laser cannon. It makes it an absolute beast against starfighters, especially being turreted. The blast boat wasn't a particularly maneuverable vessel in space, though it was fast. So the turret helps make up for that by presenting a real threat against starfighters, while the other weapons, again, really good at taking out larger ships. One notable function of this Skip Ray was its stabilizer fin, which could rotate for either a vertical or a horizontal formation. It seems like most of the time in space they were used in the vertical formation, with horizontal being used primarily for landing, but I'm sure creative pilots could use the stabilizers in some fun way. The Skip Ray was usually operated with a crew of 4, including 2 gunnery officers, 1 on the turret, a sensor officer, and a pilot, although of course, as we do see in the Thrawn trilogy, you could certainly pilot the Skip Ray on your own, and I'm sure there'd be automated systems to help with everything in the case of just 1 pilot. In terms of strategy, every source talks about the fact that Skip Rays could function really effectively in pretty much any situation, either with a TIE fighter escort or without, but Skip Rays were especially effective when used in small groups of 2 or 3. You can imagine a Skip Ray cleaving through a battle, its laser cannons swiveling, knocking out enemy starfighters, shrugging off blasts before doing runs on smaller enemy capital ships. The Skip Ray, I imagine, given its speed and its functionality, would have been quite terrible to see as a captain of a Braha'tak or a CR-90. So what's the deal with the Skip Ray? Why were they not more prominent? Well, the Starships of the Galaxy Guide does a good job of laying out the history. It says that Skip Rays were intended to fill the void between smaller snub fighters and larger capital ships, and in this regard, were a complete success. Skip Rays were an incredibly effective vessel, especially considering their survivability and relatively low crew requirements, but despite, not because of its capabilities, they never caught on due simply to politics within the Imperial Navy. Thus, Sienar Fleet Systems, which I suspect thought they were going to sell a lot of these, ended up offloading most to private groups, including planetary militias, or obviously mercenaries, pirates, and smugglers. That is how several Skip Rays made their way into the hands of Talon Karrde, but the Skip Ray obviously joins a long line of overpowered Imperial ships, which never saw wide service. It reminds me a lot of the assault gunboat, just hard to kill, super powerful, but a lot more expensive than what the Empire was also churning out. The TIE Defender is obviously similar in terms of difference compared to a TIE fighter, although more of a starfighter class. That's all I've got. Let me know what you thought of the Skip Ray, and if you'd like to join the extra discussion, maybe talk about this video or suggest others, obviously leave a comment, but if you're interested, consider checking out the Eckhart's Ladder Discord, available right now to everyone who signs up for the Patreon. But I'll always read your comments too, so no pressure. Anyway, that's all guys. See you next time. May the Force be with you.